Bam! Mr. TARROU. In this lesson, we're going to do a little bit of hands-on geometry, not our normal math lessons. The wife got on Pinterest and she saw some pictures of these ladies taking a simple hammer and a crowbar and pulling apart these pallets and making some Christmas trees. And she thought, wouldn't that be neat if everyone along our for a couple of blocks in our neighborhood would have could have their own Christmas tree made out of recycled pallets, and then we could all decorate them and have a gathering. And I thought, well, how hard could it be? In the famous line from Top Gear, one of my favorite shows. Yeah, you get these old pallets, and you know, some of these I found recycled that were made out of pine, and sure, they broke apart pretty easily, but you get some good heavy ones that are made out of oak, you are not going to pry those apart. So we're going to show you the TARROU way of recycling pallets into Christmas trees. Now, to complete this project, you're going to want a pencil, some safety goggles. When you're cutting, you'll need a drill, some screws and nails. You will need a hammer and a crowbar to clean up those loose nails when you're done cutting apart these pallets. Of course, you need something to cut with, some drill bits, and a straight edge to mark off your trees. Now, this process that we're going to go through is going to give us 2 pallet trees out of 1 pallet. We're going to start by taking the pallet and putting the bottom side up and cut the wood out from in between the supports, the outside support and the inside. Now, this one has 2. The previous one I showed you had only 1 in the middle. And no big deal, you're just going to get 2 trees that are differently shaped, but still, actually, you're going to get a really strong tree out of the one that we make from the middle of this pallet. Now, you might have noticed in that previous clip as I was cutting the back boards off that occasionally the saw wanted to bind up a little bit, and it might kick back. It depends on how tight the nails are in these boards and how strong the wood is. So make sure you have a good handle on that saw as you're cutting, because you don't want to lose a finger or something worse as you're trying to make some recycled pallet trees. Now, we got our straight edge, we have a pencil, and let's mark off our tree. Of course, we want to go diagonally, right? Trees get skinnier as they go to the top. So we're going to put our straight edge at the bottom of the pallet, just on the inside of the support beam. And I don't want to go right to the sort of other edge of the support beam, because I want to cut the corners of these branches at an angle. So I'm going to open this up a little bit and sort of on the bottom of the branch, use this board as the marker, and then come in a couple of inches and make another mark that I'm going to use to sort of guide me as I cut my branches out. So again, on the bottom, right against our straight edge, on the top of the branch, come in a couple of inches so you can cut a little bit of an angle. And now with my little guide marks on my board, I'm just going to put my safety goggles back on, get my saw, and cut along these, connect the dots, and in a second we'll have a Christmas tree. There's your Christmas tree. Now, let me get this out of the way. With the way I showed you, now what you can do is you can take these 2 outside halves, turn them over. Now it's time to get your screw gun and put these 2 halves together, and there is your second tree. Okay, so now with our drill in hand, we're going to go ahead and put a couple of, pre-drill a couple of holes in part of this pallet. And I realized, double checking my video, that just because I'm recording this and got a little distracted, you don't want to leave your circular saw, or whatever it is you're using to cut, plugged in. You know, what if someone hits the switch and that thing goes off? It's dangerous. So make sure you unplug your saw when you're not using it. Now, let's get these sort of branches, if you will, basically lined up the best we can. These pallets weren't made to make Christmas trees, so just add a little more character if it's not exactly even. You don't want to go through both boards, just the first one. Get your screwdriver bit in here for whatever screws you're using. Now that drill bit that I'm using is the same diameter as the teeth of my screws, so that I make sure to pull the boards together. So this is going to basically slide into the first hole, get to the second board, and pull them together. And that is your second tree. Now really that's all there is to it. As you finish these, I think one of these boards broke, so now really the most time-consuming part of this project is, you know, maybe just coming back through here with some little finishing nails or screws and adding some of these pallets to tighten up the branches if you need to. The last step is either going to stake these into the ground or make a stand. So let's talk about that. Now I'm not going to attach this stand to the two trees that I just made because, well, they're going to get staked up in front of our neighbors' houses as Christmas decorations. But if you do need a stand, you just take two of the pieces of wood that you cut out from the bottom of the pallet, crisscross them. I have pre-drilled 4 holes in the top or bottom board, however it is you crisscross in these, and used a pointy drill bit thingy for countersinking screws. I don't know really what this is called. Probably countersinking drill bit. And what you're going to do is you're just going to screw these together, and then you need some feet on the ends of whatever board is going to be the top board. And I made these pieces, I cut them right off of this board so they're exactly the same width and you don't get any wobble. So we're going to use some screws. These are really not the appropriate type of screw. They're drywall screws. I should be using you know, wood screws, but I'm just recycling and using what I have. So we're just going to come in here. And with these screws countersunk, they're not going to scratch the floor if you're putting them inside your home, and they're also not going to make the stand wobble. And I'm having to be very careful because, well, these screws are really too short, which is also why I made my countersinks so darn deep. So I'm trying to get the most out of my screws. And really, as soon as I screw these two little feet on, that is going to be the end of my project, and you're going to have a stand that doesn't wobble. And I'm Mr. TARROU. That is how you make a pallet Christmas tree.